Okay, I've just added a few additional keyframes to the mandibles to control their movement during the other poses, and all I've done is the same as before. I've animated retraction on the mandibles, but I've also used the mandible controls, which obviously move the root goal of the IK. So they sort of track with the spider, go back with it, otherwise the mandibles were stretching out to unfeasible lengths. So now they kind of look a bit more fluid and they move along with it now. So they were simple keyframes to add, so I didn't actually video that. It's just something I did in between. But I thought it was worth pointing it out so that you can see what's been added. Okay, so I'm saving that again. Let's do a quick preview. Right, I think the next thing to do is to stick all this under a null. And we can start to actually get the thing moving along in one direction. So what we need to do is select the controllers, the joints rig and the spider group, and hold down Alt and G. Actually no, we won't do it that way. What we'll do is make a group of just from the controllers, Alt G, and then it'll have exactly the same position, and then I can just drop the others into it. Oops. Joints rig. The controllers at the top, joints at the bottom, and then that should all still stay as it was. Yeah, but the advantage of it now is we can actually pick up the null and move it around. Which is what we need to be able to do. Okay, save that. Okay, we're going to make some motion clips using this guy now. First thing I'm going to do is we've got a stationary walk cycle, but what I'm going to actually do is create a moving walk cycle, so he's tracking along the ground, and I can get that spaced, the timing of that right, and then once that's within a motion clip I can then stretch or compress the motion clip, and it'll still cover the right amount of distance for the speed it's walking at, so that'll save some calculations later. The other alternative is to just simply animate the null and do a bit of math, but I'm going to try it this way. Okay, so the null object, I'm going to rename that for a start. Let's call it spider null. And we are going to go first of all and create the animation. So I only need movement selected, put a keyframe at 0, and then at 30 frames, which is the end of the walk cycle, I'm going to move the guy 320 frames, or 320 units, sorry, because that's the distance covered. If you remember the distance of the legs, I made the movement of the leg 160, and it's taking 2 full strides in that time, so 320 should. Okay, right, first thing we've got to do is select those keyframes, which are there, and switch that to linear rather than spline, which gets rid of the F-curve data. Now that's absolutely fine, apart from the fact that the feet are slipping, which is the F-curves on the Z movement. So that really does have to be trimmed off, flattened out. What I'm going to do actually is make the keyframes for those walking positions purely linear, and that'll solve that problem. We'll do that now actually. Let's go into F curves. And we are on controllers. I need to open up all the legs. Okay. Select the Z. All of them. Do a frame all. Okay, that's okay. What I'm basically going to do from the first one, the null one we've got position we've got behind the keyframe, I'm going to do that all the way to frame 30. And switch that to linear. That looks much better. Fine. I'm going to leave the F-curve data on the other ones for now. That's cool. Okay, now I'm going to make that into a motion curve rather, or motion clip, if I can speak. Switch out to key mode. Let's save this for a start. And add motion clip. And we set the range, and we'll rename this walk. I'm going to keep the original animation intact for now. I may well delete all the frames for that, or simply copy or save these motion clips into another file and start afresh, but for the moment I think we'll leave them there. Create pictures so we get a preview of what we're looking at, and that's it. Position is all we need, I think. Okay, so now we've got that clip and I can move that further along. You can see we've got a self-contained walk, which is cool. Okay, so now we've got our spider walking along for 30 frames, as it should. I'm going to duplicate the motion clip. Let's just move this back, see what we're doing. Okay. And at frame 30, just before the transition, when the spider's at its furthest point forward, we click on the second motion clip and create a pivot. Now drag the pivot to the spider null and then go to structure, axis center. Let's pull this down actually, and do a center to parent. Once we've done that, we can move it back outside of the hierarchy. Call it pivot 1, and with any luck that should move our spider forward. Yep. So again, we can do the same again. We can copy this to there, and then at frame 60, create a pivot, drag that to the null, send to parent, drag it out, call it pivot 2. The spider will walk in a linear fashion along that designated path. And obviously we can animate the rotation of these pivot objects as well, which we will use when we come to place the spider along in the scene. The great thing is with this method as well that you can actually change the speed of the spider movement in portions. So in this it's going to walk fairly normally, and then it's going to speed up in the last batch but cover the same distance. Obviously it goes back to the underlying animation. The motion clip always has priority, but then it reverts to what's underneath, which is one reason why you delete the underlying keyframes, but once we've developed a whole path of motion clips, then it won't really matter. Cool, so I need to make motion clips for the remaining poses. So what I'm going to do actually is just remove these for now. I don't need these either. Okay. Turn that off for now. Okay, so we've got our walk cycle motion clip, which we can come back to at any point. So from frame 30 to let's go into key mode and have a look. Frame 30 to 53 is the spider crouching down. So we'll make another clip. Oops. .30, 53, crouch. Okay, that's the crouch. And then 53. Keys to make sure what we're looking at. 53 to 60. So 53 to 60. 53, 60. Rear up. And then from 60, I think, oh no, a bit further forward, 65, actually we should probably have that. Actually that was wrong. Let's do the last motion clip again. Forgot to do the end of pose, so 53 to 70. Well, it seemed a bit short. Rear up. from 70 to 85, I think is the last. 70 to 85, and the fun motion clip. Leap. Okay, so now we have all the motion clips for each of the actions, each of the poses. You see we're getting a crossover there. That's where we need to switch the layers of the motion clips to absolute, just to show that here. Sorry, I need to click on the layer to do that. Oops. Yeah, you'd set that to absolute. But in fact, they'll probably all exist on one layer anyway, rather than being on several. I don't really need to blend them because they all start from the right places anyway. Nevertheless, okay, I'm going to delete these from the timeline anyway, the motion path timeline, motion clip timeline, because they're not necessary at the moment. So now we're just back to the default animation. Right, so we've got all our motion clips created now. Something that you can do is save them all out, which is quite useful because then you can create a library of motion sources, spider movements, save it as, and then the great thing is that you can go to a default version of this file with absolutely no animation in it whatsoever. Bring in the motion sources and animate your rig. So obviously if you create an abundance of different movements and things for this spider to do, then it's great to be able to just dip into the library and pull a motion out and not have to do all the random keyframing again. Okay, I think the next step really is to create the movement of this spider from A to B. Ultimately I'm going to have the spider moving along pretty much towards the camera, with maybe some slight offsets of the camera movement. That's not really decided yet actually, but the point is the movement of the spider needs to be created from the distance to near. So I think we'll start mapping that out now using the motion clips. So I'm just going to pull back a little bit. Okay, I'm going to basically start with the spider walking fairly relaxed. Start frame 1. I've speeded up a little bit, I think. So for the first part anyway, I'm going to have it moving at that speed. Just wondering whether I should just loop that initially. Well, it's just as easy, I suppose, really, to copy and paste it, and then I can use the pivot object. Okay. So, 460 frames. I'm going to have it moving forward, so on frame 20 on that particular motion clip. I'm going to create a pivot. I'll drop that under the null. Get my axis center tools out, center to parent. Move that to there. Okay, let's just rename that. Walk 1, pivot. At frame 40, need to do the same again. Click on this motion clip, create pivot, stick it under the null, center to parent, drag it out of the null, walk 2. Oops. Let's just see if that's doing as it should. Yeah. Okay, so we've got 60 frames of the spider moving forward at a reasonable pace. At this point I want it to pause. I'm just going to drag another cycle in. Of course I've got the underlying animation causing me some grief there. I'm going to save this file as walk 5. And then go into the key mode. And ditch all of the controller data there. That now, do I? Yeah. Okay. So back in the motion mode. I need to create a pivot for this. Here, drag it under the null, center to parent. It's going to be walk 3. So it should pause there. I've got some anomalous stuff going on with the mandibles, but I can deal with that later. So basically he's walking along, something stops him. It's not a very nice stop actually. Oh, I know why that is. It's because it's resorting to the default pose, because we've still got that data in there. Just going to move that back a bit. Okay, so walking along, pause. Let's move that to 75. I'm going to create some mandible motion in that little bit where it's still not long enough really. Let's pause for a full second. And I want it to walk more slowly in this bit, like it's being cautious. So 120 would be the norm, so let's go to 150, so nice to get it to pause there. Then I'm going to create a faster walk cycle, or add a faster walk cycle rather. That's going to be significantly quicker, I think. So where have we started? Let's pause this again actually. Starts at 170 and go on to it's very fast. Pretty fast actually. Right at the beginning. Okay, so at that point there, I need to create a pivot object for this one. So create pivot, drag to the null, center to parent, drag it out again, walk, for, pivot. Okay, and then we want to copy this one. Probably enough distance actually. So 180, click on this one, create pivot, drag to the null, set to parent, drag it out, walk 5, pivot, and 190 again, click on this one, create pivot, drag to the null, that's a parent, walk 6, oops. Let's click off here and have a quick look. Pause, stealthily, pause again, speed up. So how far have we gone? 200 frames. Right, and at this point I want it to rear up, or crouch rather. So let's drag a crouch in. And obviously for this I need a new pivot point. So create pivot, drag it to the null, center to parent, drag it out again, and call this one crouch pivot. I'd like that to be faster. Yeah, be a bit longer. Again, a bit of a longer pause. Maybe longer. So there we are. I want to hold that position for a while. We need to extend the timeline. Let's give ourselves a bit more room. Let's go to 500 for now. Oops. Again, I think I'm going to add some mandible movement at that point. And obviously the camera will be doing something. So that's at 234. Okay. Around there I'm going to create another walk. Let's do it at 250, round it off. Okay, don't then. There we go. And then go back to the last point of that one. 234, that'll do, and we'll create a pivot, drag it to the spider null. Let's just close this up, give us a bit more room. Center to parent, drag out. Oops. That's going to be walk 7. Walk 7 pivot. What I'm going to do is make these invisible because they kind of get in the way. So I'm going to turn off the visibility of the controllers. I'm going to have another walk cycle there actually. So let's create a pivot, drag to null, set to parent, drag out, walk 8, pivot. it off. Well, that last one be quite slow. Like it's barely moving. That's menacing. Okay, what I should have done there actually is probably have a rear up. I certainly intended to. So what I'll do is that's going to screw up my pivot points. You can always have it a bit later actually. Then I want another crouch. Okay. Crouch. Oops. Need to zoom in again. Create a transition across that. You can blend the curves together, the movements together. Obviously you've got the problem with the placement, but let's just put that in. So 360, get that out of the way. 360, that's the last point of that, so let's create a pivot. Crouch, pivot, 2. Drag that to the null, send it to parent, drag it out. It's quite nice. And I want to rear up just there. So 394. Create another pivot on this one. Up under the null. So it's the parent. Let's call it rear up pivot. Okay, let's extend that. Whoops, probably not as much as that. And then the final thing will be a quick run and the leap. So again, let's give that about 600 frames. Probably all we're going to need. Maybe not quite as long as that. Then I want a quick transition to a run. So drag the walk in. And for now, let's go to the last frame there. Create a pivot point. Run pivot. And then we need to copy that under the null. Send it to parent. Okay. Right, create pivot. Drop that under the null. Center to parent. Oh, I see, I didn't do it last time. Copy it out. Run pivot 1. Right, I want that to be quite quickly. First I'm going to loop that one. No, I'm not. Whoops. So we get that one. We want another walk cycle, which is going to be even shorter still. I want that to join that. Last frame there. Create a pivot. Oops. Center to parent. Run pivot 2. And then I'm going to copy that again. Last point being there. Oops. Create pivot. Center to parent. Whoops, I don't want to do that. That some more. Let's just go with these. Right, and then ideally we'd like the leap in here somewhere. So if I can get the transition to go from to that would be great. First thing I need to do is put a pivot. Okay, create pivot. Oh, let's go to that. Create pivot. Spider null. Send it to parent. Leap pivot. Probably what it needs is another run in there, really. Well, maybe not. Oops, drag the bottom bit. Yeah, I want to create a bit of tension in that last movement, so. Okay, I need to create a final motion clip, which is going to be the point from where the spider leaves the ground. And I think that'll be the easiest way of doing it. So what I'm going to do is go back into my Walk 4 scene file, which has no motion clips laid out, and we've still got the original keys all in place, as you can see there. So what I'm going to do is take the last keyframe, which is on 85, and create a little bit more animation after that. So at that point I'm going to animate the null again, and I want movement and rotation activated, so I'm going to place a keyframe there, and then maybe only 5 frames down the line I'm going to have moved the spider forward and up, add a keyframe, and I'm going to rotate, let's rig a bit forward, and the next thing I need to do is create or make those keyframes linear rather than spline. I think I might actually need to make it go further up. I can alter the speed of that in the motion clip anyway. Okay, that's fine, but what I'm going to do also is animate the controllers a little bit of the legs. So and the crouch as well, I think. Okay, that's quite good, and I want the back legs to drag a little as it leaves the ground. So left 4. I don't know what I didn't have, I think. Using the wrong things, let's just move these out of the way. Let's go down a bit. Right, left 4 control. I want to take that down. Right 4 control. those keyframes in place though. Obviously there's not. Okay, F4 control. No, there's not. Right 4 control. Right, and at 90. How much is that? Okay, so that's those. And then I'm going to put a couple of keyframes in the left 3 and right 3. Left 3, forward and down. It's only very subtle, but at least it gives it sort of a bit more elasticity, if you like, to the leap. What I might do as well is lift the front legs up. So, right, where are we? Let's do it on there. Right front, 85, and a keyframe. Left front, add a keyframe. 90. Select them both. Fine, apart from the legs going under the floor. There appears to be one of them actually. Did I miss a keyframe somewhere? Let's have a look. F4 control. Should be there. That's it, yeah. Okay, so basically I'm going to go from frame 80 to 90. I'm going to create that as a new motion clip. So I select the spider null, animation, add motion clip, 80, oops, 80, jump. Okay. Now I'm going to save this as 4A. Whoops, 4A. Yeah, I can replace the other one. And so that's got the new motion clip in it. And what I'm also going to do is save that motion clip out as a spider jump. Now I've already done this, so it's going to overwrite the last one. I thought it would. I didn't. Okay, spider jump, and then back in. Save that again. Back in walk 5. I'm going to load the motion source, and then we should be able to stick that there. Obviously we need to get the last pivot point, so create pivot, move this down, drag it all the way down to the spider null, structure, axis center, center to parent, drag it back up to the top again, call this jump pivot. We're actually taking it to the wrong point. Although, it's quite nice thinking about it. Blends better. Oops. That's just right. That's cool. Just click off that, get rid of that pivot point, or make it invisible rather. Okay. I'm going to shorten that a little because I don't want it to be so slow.